It's my great pleasure to introduce our next conversation with a very, very special guest, Ambassador Oksana Markarova. About a year ago, I met the ambassador, and I was in her office, and we were talking about a trade issue, a very important issue, the Ukrainian economy, et cetera. And her comment to me, and we were talking about long-term, and she says, my country, my folks, we need bullets. We need medical supplies. We need food for babies. Okay, we gotta move forward today. It's not about tomorrow. It's today. And I just kind of marveled. Leadership makes a difference. We've seen it in the Ukraine, in Kyiv, with President Zelensky, and we've seen it here at home with Ambassador Markarova. She has really been a kind of just a symbol of the strength and the courage and the cause of freedom worldwide. And we're really excited to have her here with us today. She previously served in Ukraine's Ministry of Finance. As Secretary Esper said, Secretary Esper said, history goes on. And I just have to say, personally, I thought the history of tanks and bombings and destruction of the world in Europe, I thought that was history. You know, we celebrated we reflected on the invasion of Normandy almost 80 years ago. But it's not history, it's today. And today we have to respond. And Ambassador Markarova has really kind of shown us, you know, the courage and the strength that I think has been so helpful here at home. Her leadership and skills have been on full display with Ukraine as the world grapples with Russia's war on the Ukrainian people and impacts throughout the globe. We are honored to have you here today with us to learn from you. Please join me in welcoming Ukraine Ambassador Oksana Markarova in conversation with USGLC's President and CEO, my dear friend Liz Traya. Liz, please.
I wanted to ask. God bless you. Which one?
You're the.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think they're excited you're here. I have to just conclude the last session and certainly thank Secretary Esper, who inspired me and all of us, as well as you heard Steve Clemons, who is a force of nature, Steve. I told you how smart he was, and we're both friends with him. And as I said, sign up for Semaphore. Ambassador. We were with each other last night, and as I said, how excited I know we all are to be with you. And I have to start from all of us, our online community who's tuned in, everybody here, to say how inspiring the bravery, the courage of the people of Ukraine are to all of us for fighting for freedom and democracy for Ukraine, but really for the whole world.
Thank you. Героям слава.
I also want to say that Senator Coleman said it all. You are breathtaking. When I turn on the news and you're speaking, I'm like, oh, turn it up, turn it up. So we have lots to talk about. I want to get to the counteroffensive, but we were talking last night. The first thing I said, we were at a big reception, and I ran over to you and said, oh my goodness, the attack on the dam, it's already, the numbers keep ticking up as I've been reading in the news. So let's start there. Tens of thousands of people that have been displaced in their homes. The environmental damage is extraordinary. So just give us a quick update on what's going on with the attack on this dam.
Yes, thank you. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you for having me. Well, yesterday and day before that have been horrible days with all the missiles flying again, 35 missiles destroyed over Kyiv, but we were not talking about that. Even that was not a horrible item compared to the Russians blowing up the dam. And it's something that we warned everyone before. If you remember, President Zelensky was talking after we found out that they have mined it a while ago, but we were all hoping that, you know, they understand how much damage it will be to blow that dam. And unfortunately, you know, it happened, and the water from that reservoir, the Kakhovka reservoir, which is actually the size of the Great Salt Lake, just to imagine the huge reservoir that is there. That all water rushed down the stream, so we already, a couple of dozens villages unfortunately are underwater. And a portion of Kherson city, which we have liberated literally a couple of months ago. We see now the footage, of people literally are not able to get out from their houses because the water came so quickly, not to mention the farms, the cattle, dogs. We're trying to evacuate as many people as possible. It's about 16,000 that we have evacuated. Now, the addition to that horrible war crime that Russians did, they're still shelling, even as all this footage that you see of the first responders trying to evacuate the people, you hear the sounds of the shelling on the backdrop because they continue shooting, and plus, if not the majority, but definitely part of that water actually went down to the left bank, and that's the territory which they still occupy. And we do have reports of them not only not evacuating people, but not even allowing people to be evacuated or to save themselves. So we don't even know how bad it is, on the other part, but we see already from the satellite images that it is devastating on both banks of Dnipro. Now, we're talking about the immediate damage from the flooding, but the fact is, it actually killed the whole ecosystem of the reservoir itself. All fish, all animals that have been there died. This is the reservoir we have used to cool the Zaporizhzhia nuclear station, which is the largest nuclear station in Europe, which is also occupied by Russians. So with no water in the reservoir, that is additional challenge. And it's a main source of water, actually, to all the farming communities, large number of them in that area. So the long-term damage for this crop, but also for the crops to come, it's a huge environmental war crime in addition to just immediate crime that we have seen there and the effect on people.
Well, needless to say, we're all concerned, and if that hadn't happened, my starting question would have been on the counteroffensive, so let's talk about that. I couldn't believe when I watched the ad that kind of started an unusual way to potentially start a counteroffense, which is, I put the screen of this ad on, which I don't know if you've all seen, which is, shh, don't tell, we're about to start one. So, unusual, maybe it was a little provocative, but you'll tell me whether or not. What's the status of the war? What are you expecting with the counteroffense? And where does the U.S. and Allied support, how is it impacting it?
Well, it's everyone talks about Ukrainian bravery, resiliency, in addition to all the horrible, but don't forget about our sense of humor, even throughout all this.
Google it. It's wild. It's 30 seconds, but not yet. Listen.
So it's, we always
Your president was a comedian.
And our president, throughout all this time, we have seen a leadership, really true leadership of a leader not only staying with his people, but fighting and leading his people. We have seen his bravery, being on the front lines, but his sense of humor never left him. So this counteroffensive, or counteroffensives, in plural, it has been something that was so discussed in the press, and every question was, when the winter counteroffensive will start, when the spring counteroffensive will start. Right. Now we're in the summer, but the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter when it starts. Our goal is to liberate all Ukraine. We trust our commanders and they have shown during the past 15 months that they are capable and they know how to do it, and they take care not only of the civilians, because we have to liberate our territory knowing that it's our people there under occupation. So unlike Russians who are destroying everything when they advance, we have to very carefully liberate our territories. So they will do it when they see this is the best time to do it. In the meantime, we are training, we are preparing, we are accumulating all the support. And let me tell you, you always hear me talking about how much more do we need. But we are so grateful for everything that we have received already. And we're so grateful to American people We wouldn't be able to do it without you. And of course, yes, we need more in order to be able to get to peace faster and to win this, because we need to win it together. So the counteroffensive, you will know when it started, when you will see results on the battlefield.
Okay.
That's how,
All right.
that was the message about, whether it started or not started or will start, People asked also our commander-in-chief and President Zelensky also, how about this flooding, because again, the whole area is affected. And actually it's probably one of the reasons why Russians did it, why they blew the dam in order to, but nothing will stop us.
Can I ask you about the aid? So you've been unrelenting and wildly successful and respected in going up to Capitol Hill, both sides of the aisle. I see you all the time doing so effectively, the highest levels of our government. And our government, as you just said, has been, our country, our taxpayers have been very, very generous. $113 billion, about $47 billion has been economic and humanitarian assistance. And you have been very gracious of saying what you just said, gracious about American support for Ukraine. But you also haven't been shy about what you need. We know that there has been just not very strong bipartisan support. At the same time, there's some that are saying there's already enough out there. We just heard from the Speaker just earlier this week, but then we have Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Mike McCall. We have Chairman, we have Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham, saying we need to be doing more. What's your case that you're making up there of not only why there is potentially more that we need, but why it's important to America? You're not an American, you're Ukrainian. I'm an American. What do you say?
Well, why do we need more is related to what is it that we're trying to do. And we need to win, all of us together. It's not just Ukraine that needs to win. All of us, we need to win this war. Why do we need to win this war? Well, first of all, let's remind ourselves why Russia attacked us in the first place in 2014. We never projected any power or any threat to Russia. We never wanted to attack Russia. We never had any intentions to attack Russia. We were never a threat to Russia. Looking at our size, at the size of the countries, at the size of the population, at the size of the armed forces, nothing was there to actually provoke Russia or to even send a hint that they need to do it in any way. Of course, if the civilizational choice that Ukraine made to be free, to be independent, to be European, to be, free democratic country, if that is not a threat. Now, if that is a reason to attack anyone, then they will not stop with us. More, Mr. Putin has been very clear about it. He said in his speeches over and over that he's restoring an empire, that the biggest problem is the dissolution of the Soviet Union, which we all know is the greatest thing that ever happened to actually end the evil empire that existed. And unfortunately, Russia, thank you. And Russia just transformed into this evil empire. This is the continuation of the Soviet Union. This is the threat to all of us. This is important for the national security interest of the US and for us and for Europe, for all NATO countries, for all transatlantic democratic countries, to show that rule of law matters, UN Charter matters, democracy matters, and democracy is worth fighting for. That not only we can deliver better to our people, with all our differences, with all the difficulties in democracies, but that also we can defend ourselves, because other autocrats are looking at this and they're making their calculation whether they can attack whoever they want to attack in their vicinity. But the second part of that is also the values. I truly believe the reason why Americans supported us was not the strategic calculations,
The values.
but the values. Yeah. This country is built on the values for which we are fighting now. To be brave and free, something that you have in your anthem. This is who we are. Yeah. And this is what we fight for our houses, for our homes, for our loved ones. You would do that if, God forbid, US would be threatened. And we are very glad that you are with us. And third, we can fight this fight on our own. We don't need anyone to come and fight for us. We are asking kindly to help us with the weapons, to help us with the financial support, but we can do this. We will fight ourselves. Now, if God forbid we would fall and Russia would do what they want to do and attack other countries, there is Poland there, there are Baltic states there, they all are members of NATO. This is Article 5. In that situation, the US and other NATO countries will have to not only help them, but fight for them. So in a sense, if you don't want the US to be involved in the war, if you don't want the US to be involved in the war, which none, of course, want, the way to ensure that is actually to help us to finish the job, to stop Russia while it's still only in Ukraine.
So two questions that I hear on the Hill all the time. One is something Secretary Esper just said, is our allies. Our allies, we're not the only ones participating. We're the largest, but we're not the only ones. We're actually on percentage of GDP, probably about 5th along the way. But he actually said not everybody is doing as much as they should. So not to put you on the spot, but I'll put you on the spot. Are our allies doing enough?
Well, enough will be when we win and Russia
she's such a diplomat.
gets out.
This is why she's so good.
But talking about, look, we are candidate country to the European Union. And I remember this discussion we had last year. Of course, on the defense side, the US is #1 friend and ally that we have. And in 2022, US has been also #1 in the direct budget support. Now, this year, European Union is #1 on direct budget support. And hopefully in reconstruction and everything else, you know, the IFIs and the European Union will step in, where I would like to see the US #1 continuing regardless until forever, is for the US business participation in Ukraine, because this is what we have to do together, not only to help Ukraine, but to create and reconstruct Ukraine. And also Ukraine, together with American business investment, could be an answer to so many global challenges. This is something we can do together in food security, energy security, and all other areas where there is a lot of perspective.
Another tough one. Put on your finance minister, your old finance minister
that's my
hat,
favorite
which
one.
is your favorite. Now, I know this because I've talked with you. You can go on